Recording. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for jumping on this morning. My name is Kevin Barney, the Director of Sales and Marketing for Mass Bay Youth Lacrosse League. And we're really excited to have worked with a lot of our partners to put on several webinars this week for coaches and players. And, started off, obviously, with some of the crazy times with a quick conversation with someone who's going to be doing one of our coach education clinics when those got canceled, to see what could we do, and started talking about some different webinar type stuff, and kind of exploded into I think we're doing 14 or 15 this week, and we'll do a similar number next week as well from a lot of different people. And with us this morning is Marty Bose, who's been gracious enough. He's doing one every morning this week at 10 a.m. is his time slot. So please make sure you join him. He's got some great topics over the rest of this week for it. Marty's one of our coach education trainers. Marty played for 8 seasons in the MLL for the Boston Cannons and Florida Launch. And he played his college ball at the University of Hartford, and is a Quincy native, and has been helping us out for the last couple of years with our coach education. He works at Compete Lacrosse Academy in Norwood, and works with a lot of individuals, small groups, teams, everything from youth to high school and college players as well with it, and really a holistic approach to coaching and teaching kids of all ages how to play the sport and become better athletes. So was that hyped up enough there for you, Marty?
I'm like, yeah, this is the best intro you've ever given me, KB. Thank you.
I've had a lot of practice now. So with that, I'll turn it over to Marty. But as I said to everyone at the beginning, before we got started, toggle around a little bit. You can see up in the right-hand corner, there's like a gallery view. You should be able to almost limit or maybe even get rid of my screen. But as Marty shares his, you'll be able to see more.
Yeah, I'll be doing mostly demos with the stick, so I'll probably stand up and be able to talk through as best I can without messing up my headphone wire.
And then at the bottom, there's a chat function and a Q&A. Either one of those, if you have any questions or comments, type those in, and I'll be keeping an eye out on those and yelling at Marty when we got some questions. So take it away, Marty.
Yeah, I can hear you really well, KB, too. So if people do have questions, like if they actually are doing this the way we want to for this morning's session here, this is an in-depth stick tutorial, we'll call it, right? Where it's a learn by doing experience. That's my hope. Whether you're a coach or a player or a parent, try some of these drills, understanding the little nuances of the fingers and the weight distribution and how that's going to affect the ball and the stick. That's really what we're focused on for today's webinar. So, I really encourage you to follow along with us as I start doing some of these demonstrations. So please keep up with that. The questions, I think this is a good opportunity if people do have questions about the different skill sets, because I'm kind of going to run through this all. And hopefully I'll be able to send you a resource afterwards as well that kind of lays out all the drills we went over. But that's my hope, is to get the most out of this time here today for those watching that might be able to actually legitimately get a little bit better with their stick in the next 30 to 40 minutes. Cool.
Awesome.
All right. So I guess it's all here. Yeah. All right. So fellas and ladies, it doesn't matter what kind of stick you have. All right. It doesn't matter from the sake of learning how to use it more effectively. So jumping right into this, we just need a stick, no ball yet. All right. No ball yet. So the very first thing I want to go over is what I'm calling stick face awareness. Stick face awareness. So right now, my face and my stick face are both looking directly at you, right? Now my stick face is looking to my right. Maybe it's your left. I don't know. But we always want to be aware of the stick face, because when we get into some of the nuances of the cradling, the ball control, how we're gripping our stick, it's all predicated upon maximizing the usage of rotating the stick face and having it looking, the direction that we might end up wanting to throw. All right. So that's a big piece here, is when I mention stick face, right? Right now, just for reference, KB, am I pointing to your left or your right?
My left.
This is your left. So right now, my stick face is looking to my left. Right now, it's looking directly at you. Right now, it's looking upward, right? But there's all these kind of motions in play here that when we start winding up for shots and cradling and setting up throws and all these different types of throws we could be working on. What's up, Coach Mac? What we want to be aware of is the face of the stick, because that's going to be a crucial aspect, all right? So the first drill, after that, we've talked about that face awareness, stick face awareness. This first drill is that you're going to find the balance point of your stick. So depending on how long your stick is, whether it's a guy stick, a long stick, maybe you have some tape on it that's going to change the weight distribution, right? Find that spot without a ball in it that you could balance that stick on just your fingers. All right, that's what you're going to try to do to start here. That's our first drill. I'm just calling this the balance point drill. All right, what I'll try to do, I'm on 4 fingers right now. Let's try to cut that down to 2. All right, so now we're on 2 fingers. All right, and now I'll try to find that sweet spot, see if I can get this down to 1 finger, and there it is right there. All right, so that's the balance point of my stick. And if you notice, the face, I'll try to make this visible, the face of the stick is a little bit moving around a bit. That's okay. But I want to get the face of the stick looking upward. All right. And now from here, I'm back to 2 fingers here because it's a bit hard to control. Now I'm back to 4. All right. This next drill, we're going to be back on all 4 fingers, right? Nice, calm balance point. I'm not gripping the stick at all. I'm just letting the weight rest on my fingers. And you can see the face of the stick is looking up. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to curl my fingers towards my wrist. I'm not using my shoulders. I'm not using my arm strength, all right? Just using the smaller muscles in my forearm to just turn my fingers, all right, and see if I can get this face to rotate 180 degrees. So it's starting looking up, and at the top of this, it's looking straight down, all right? And so that's going to be my finger cradle drill, all right? And as you come back and you finish that cradle at the bottom where your stick face is looking up, you should be back on that balance point. Right? You should be nice and relaxed still. Okay, so I'm only doing slight amounts of work with my forearm to get that done. There's no big motions here. All right, that's very specific to my fingers. All right. So the next thing I want you to just looking at my notes here. All right. So from there, all right, finger cradles. We're going to add the ball into the stick. All right. So this is a nice little progression of being relaxed, noticing your balance point, and then let's see what happens by adding the ball to the equation. All right. I got to change my Instagram live angle. There we go. So you guys can see this too. Okay. All right. So we're going to throw the ball in there. All right. Well, we're going to place the ball in there. And now all of a sudden that balance point doesn't work anymore. Okay. That ball is going to fall out if I don't use my thumb. So we got to find the new balance point. All right, now that ball's in there, you're probably going to have to slide your hand up closer to the head of the stick. All right, and now we find the balance point with the ball of the stick as it looks straight upwards towards the ceiling. Okay, so now we're going to try that same progression from last time. You're going to be a little bit more careful, right? Because if I go slow, obviously the ball will just fall out. All right, so now I'm going to use that same motion I worked on from earlier. Okay, you want to remind yourself by doing a full 180 degree turns with finger strength only. All right, no arm, just fingers. We add that ball to the equation and we see if we can go up, down. All right, so that's our finger cradle with a ball in our stick. All right, we're always coming back to that balance point. Right at the bottom, I do 0 work. All right, I'm letting the weight distribution just rest on my hand, and I'm going to curl those fingers up. All right, so that's going to be our foundation. All right, from here, all right, we've got the first drill progression that's going to really tie into everything else that we do. Okay, the big noteworthy thing about what we're doing right now is that my stick is horizontal. Okay, it is parallel to the ground. We don't want to be parallel to the ground with our stick very often in the sport of lacrosse. All right, a lot of coaches are teaching us to keep our stick vertical, right, closer to our body. All right, the reason that we often go down to this level is simply because it's easier, right? If I'm just standing here with my stick in my hand, it's very easy to just have my stick down here. And that's my nice, easy balance point, right? I don't have to do any work, okay? Now, when we talk about application, right, and being effective in the sport, right, we need to be able to throw. We need to be able to dodge. We need to be able to set up our shot. And the only way to do that and be ready for all of those things at the same time is by having my ball, right, and the face of the stick up by my ear, okay? So my stick is not necessarily vertical. This would be vertical, right? But this horizontal aspect of having my stick by my hip, that's what we're trying to get rid of. I'm having it up by my ear, and the butt end is pointed straight forward in front of me, all right? The face of my stick is looking up, and that's key, all right? The face of my stick looking up. All right, the big control factor here is going to be how I use this top hand, okay? If I have this grip, all right, I have everything that I just explained, right? My stick face is looking up, it's near my ear, my butt end's pointed forward. But what I don't have is I don't have an angle in my wrist, right? My wrist is in a straight line. And so what I don't have the ability to do is I don't have the ability to snap my wrist very well from this position, all right? So what I want to do is I want to get my wrist back. Now you can see that I have an angle on my wrist. And all my fingers are spread, all right? I'm not squeezing them together. They all have a little bit of space in between them. And that's actually a crucial factor here because the further apart my fingers are spread, the more stick I feel, right? It's a surface area game, right? The second two fingers come together, now those are all clumped into one part of the shaft that I feel as a group, as opposed to spreading these out and really feeling each finger individually, ultimately giving me more ball control, okay? So that's what we want to work to, all right? So that's what we're building to with this next progression is this triple threat position, all right? And for those out there that are following along and maybe about to start tossing the ball a little bit in your house, just be super careful. We're going to be very, very careful. That's the name of this game is being careful. Okay, so the first one, flip to catch. You got your stick horizontal, okay, parallel to the ground. All right, we're going to push this stick away from us and then flick our wrist. All right, so hopefully I'm going to try to keep the ball inside this screen right here, all right, right at the bottom to start. What you'll see is I'm not just going to come straight up, all right? That's not very controlled. And the reason is because when that pulls straight up, the ball is just popping right out of that, okay? I want this ball to roll out, okay? So you should see this ball spinning. So, but to emphasize that, I push it away like I'm flipping some eggs, and then I pull it back as I snap this wrist, okay? And that ball should be spinning as it exits your stick, and you should see that, all right? So it's not necessarily about throwing it as hard as you can, but see if you could spin it harder, right? Without even throwing that ball higher up, get more spin on that ball by really snapping your wrist hard, right? And feeling it roll off the stick, okay? So that's the very, very base progression here of this flip to catch series, all right? Where again, we're building to this triple threat position up here where we want to play a lot of the time, all right? So that's that first progression. The second part to this is actually without a toss at all. And what it is just a cradle, all right? So I'm looking straight at this, hopefully not about to hit my own whiteboard there, right? Because I want you to see that the stick, particularly the butt end of the stick, is not coming in to hit my shirt here. Okay, that's one of the most common mistakes is when we first try this, we try to keep this tight grip on our stick, and at some point, right, we want to come sideways like this. And that's where that grip is so important, to get that grip back, right? And that way when this comes down, I can have my thumb on top. All right, when this is at the top, my thumb is on the side. Okay, my thumb's on the side there, which you can see this, the wrist is broken back. And that's the key, because when I throw, boom, when I cradle, it's all from this position. At any moment, that throw is an option. Okay, so this cradle from vertical high down to this horizontal position. All right, and now this next part to the progression is where it ties together. We want to be, one of the hardest skills in lacrosse, this isn't talked about enough, I think, is catching. Catching the ball is very hard, especially when you're running or changing direction and you know someone's covering you, or you know you want to go to a certain space, but you got to get the ball first. And there's all these different variables at play when you're catching, And one of the simple fundamentals that's super important is learning how to step to the ball, right? Shortening, what we would call shortening the pass. When that ball leaves your teammate's stick for a pass, as an example, you should be moving on the direct line towards them to therefore shorten that pass, even if it's just by a yard or two, right? So we practice catching while stepping to the ball, not getting to space, waiting for the ball and catching, which is what a lot of us can get used to unless we're really, really put into an environment where we're asked to do this consistently, right? So the way we progress to that, right, is we toss this ball like we were earlier, okay? But instead of just keeping it here and catching, I'm going to toss it. I'm going to change my grip like I was earlier. I was cradling like that earlier, so it's the same motion, except instead of cradling it, I just let go of the ball first, change my grip, and then I'm going to catch it like this, all right? And I'm going to do my best not to smash my computer screen right now. I'm going to do a couple reps here, all right? So toss, change my grip, catch. Hopefully you guys can see that. I'll do my best to keep it in the camera here. Toss, change my grip, catch. All right, so you maybe noticed on that one, my butt end kind of flared out a little bit, all right? That's not like, oh, a bad rep, but I noticed that, and I want to try to make it a little bit more staying on the same plane, like that rep right there. That was a better rep than the one before, okay? So these are a little bit cleaner. Hopefully you can see the difference there. And these are one of these drills. It's actually really funny as I coach, as KB mentioned, all different ages, all different levels, all different personalities, from kindergarten, never played before, to elite college that in some cases pro guys that are trying to, elevate their game and take it the next step. These simple drills are not above anyone, like you got to be able to do this stuff to the nuanced level of efficiency that, can then build to the confidence of getting to those higher levels. It's not about, when I'm getting up there, like I just need to work on my behind the backs. Like, no. You need to be on overhand duty for the rest of your playing career. Like this is not a got it and move on type of game, right? You need to constantly build on the nuances, right? And so this is just one of those examples. I see guys at the pro level, in some cases, definitely at the college level, that, on their weekend, like this drill will look very bad. It's like you guys, I'm guessing mostly youth parents, coaches, and players watching, a feed like this. You guys have the opportunity, and hopefully you're seeing this, to like jump ahead of the skill set of guys that came before you from a timing standpoint. Like I'm watching guys that play and girls that play at the middle school level these days, and they have better stick skills than I did like my freshman year in college. Like that's the God's honest truth. There's a huge opportunity. KB, do we have any good questions there? Or can I just keep it rolling? All right.
You're good.
Good. So that's our toss to catch. And then from there.
Oh, hold on, Marty.
We got a good one.
What is a good number of reps and sets on this?
So I'll put context into that for my follow-up to this. So I'll basically put everything I talked about in a PDF, and I'll put reps and sets in there. So I'll be able to answer that. You could definitely do these in bed. Yes.
Am I in bed?
For sure. All right. So
I don't want to derail.
I see.
I am in the comfort of my bed right now. My it's like everyone. As I said, the same as yesterday. My wife's in the office on a call. My kids are running around my house like crazy. This is the only quiet spot in my house.
It's funny. He's in the bed. Okay. That's good stuff, KB. All right. So last part to this progression is just living in that triple threat position. So we just worked on that flip to catch, right? And now I want to get used to, I can add my bottom hand, but I can also practice not adding it. We're going to work on a cradle, all right, from this position. So this is crucial. Everything comes into play, the grip, the fingers, okay, the set position. But if I start running around right now, this ball is going to fall out. So what I need to learn how to do is cradle within this position, okay? And it looks something like this. It's a very subtle cradle. And where we first started on this whole webinar was on the stick face. Right now, my stick face is looking up. I'm going to take the ball out so I can kind of break this down in slow motion here. My stick face is looking up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to push my hand away as I simultaneously rotate the stick face to look back towards me, and then I'm going to come back and catch it. So I'm starting to cradle away, and then I'm coming back to catch it. So it's a very subtle motion. And what this allows me to do is, the function of cradling is to keep the ball on your stick, right? You don't need to be cradling at all times, okay? The function of cradling is just to keep the ball on your stick. So if I have a cradle that comes a full 180 degrees every single time, every moment that I come here, right, I can't throw, right? I have to come back to here. Now I can throw. Come up, and then I'm back to here, and I can throw. As opposed to living here while I cradle, right? Now at any moment during this cradle, boom, that could be a throw there. Boom, I could come across my body there. So at any moment, right, that top hand is in control, all right? And what I want you to notice here, and the biggest challenge for a lot of you out there, is going to be controlling the butt end of the stick with your top hand. Meaning, when I first try this drill and I give this drill to an athlete to try for the very first time, it usually looks something like this. Okay, the butt end is going all over the place. At some point, that ball is going to fall out. Okay, the grip probably isn't ideal, right? There's a lot of different things we could try to pick as the top priority to fix. But at the end of the day, the function that we're trying to get here is that I should be able to cradle. The big thing I adjusted right there was my grip. I should be able to cradle with my butt end, limiting how much that thing moves. So when I add that bottom hand to the stick, it's just there as a guide. It really doesn't do anything, right? Top hand is in full control, right? If I were to throw the ball, sure, I'd pull with that bottom hand. But these bottom hand cradles are not necessarily something we need to be doing all the time. All right, bottom hand cradling is not a bad thing. I grew up bottom hand cradling, right? I am a right hand dominant person. It's like I'm a righty. I write righty, brush my teeth righty, kick a soccer ball righty, but I play lacrosse lefty. Right? I know a lot of people are like this as well. So I grew up cradling with my bottom hand, right? I overuse this side of my back, and a lot of things have developed because of that. But one of the big things I changed as I got deeper into this skill set of lacrosse was learning how to be top hand dominant. What I would define as top hand dominant lefty, right? I was already top hand dominant when I went to my quote unquote weak hand, right? My right hand was in top. If you were to ask me to do one-handed, stick work, whether it was wall ball, whatever, I'd have a way easier time righty than I would lefty, even though I played lefty. All right. So this is an interesting phenomenon that I think a lot of people experience. But regardless, what I want you to understand is that we want to learn how to get this grip on both hands, right? Top hand dominant. I guarantee you most, I don't know if I've ever had a kid that already didn't do this well on his strong hand. Most of you already do this. You hold the stick the right way on your strong hand. Unless you're literally picking up the stick for the first time ever, you naturally develop this, right? When you brush your teeth, it's a similar, like you have like, a loose and relaxed controlled grip, right? You use chopsticks, right? Like you have a fork in your hand, right? You're relaxed. We use our weak hand and we feel like we've never used it before. So a lot of what I'm asking you to do is stuff that you're already able to do. It's just not symmetrical yet. All right. So that's a big part of this, to consider. All right. So we're going to move along here. I've got a couple more and then we'll get into some fun ones and then we can wrap it up. But basically this here is, I just made up names for these because I don't know what else to call them. This is called a toss exchange. All right. I'm going to do my best here not to rip the headphones out of my computer. All right. So if I were to change hands, right, I'm righty right now. Maybe it looks like lefty, whatever. If I were to change hands, all right, I bring the stick over and I'm kind of sliding one hand up as I slide another hand down. I switch which hand's on top. Maybe there's a moment that like I'm one-handed, but the other hand gets added right away, So it's like I'm two-handed the whole time, all right? What I want you to try to do is literally let go of the stick altogether, all right? So you're going to toss cradle to your other hand, right? And in this center portion, there should be no hand on the stick. So it's like you start the cradle with the right hand, right? The stick face is rotating. Hopefully the ball is in the sweet spot the whole time. This is midair. I don't know if you can tell that. And then I catch it with my left hand, all right? And so I'm going to try to do that on both sides. So I have this in the left hand, toss it over to my right. So there's just a brief moment where I'm literally not even touching the stick, all right? And I'm trying to catch it in what I would call the balance point, right, on the other side with the stick face looking up. All right, but I could also be ready to be in triple threat position on both sides. All right, so those are our toss cradles. So that's a nice, easy one, right? You can start picking up the pace a little bit. Do this as you walk around, right? Get comfortable, okay? Toss exchanges. And then last one I have written here is bottom hand only cradle. So a big muscle group that you're going to have to focus on developing is your forearms, right? The ability to use your wrists in different manners are going to, ultimately give you the control to do all these different types of releases, right? You watch the high level players, the high level games, you see all these crazy types of things, and it's not to look cool necessarily. It's because it's deceptive. You have all these tools in your arsenal, so the opponent doesn't know what to expect, right? And that's a very real aspect to this game. So you want to start understanding having different ways to use your wrist and build the muscles within that is going to be crucial in developing your diversity as a player. The ability to use all these different skill sets within the game that you could pick and choose what you want to work on. There's plenty of resources. Oh, my Insta peeps are out of the combo. That's okay. There's plenty of resources out there for you guys. Yeah. What I want to focus on to finish here, guys, is a really good drill that you can use to strengthen your wrist. Okay, to strengthen your wrist.
Hey,
so I'm going to angle this downward. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Oh, you got a question.
I can hear you, KB.
You got a question on the thing here.
What's the question?
Whenever I use my weak hand, my wrist and arm get tired faster. Is that just my weak hand is not as strong, or something wrong with my technique or form, or something else?
It's both. It's both. It's mostly that you are weaker on your weak hand. It's really that simple. Like and I'm guessing the person who just asked that is in middle school. Like there's, maybe early high school, but the first thing that happens when I, as a coach, ask a player to put it in their weak hand is like this sigh of like, come on, right? Like you're going to make me put it in my weak hand. Like, look, I have the approach as a coach. I'm not going to make you do anything. Like if you want to be an elite player, then you're going to have to get a good weak hand. That doesn't mean you have to be perfectly symmetrical and be just as good with your weak as your strong. That's not what I'm saying. But you need to be very, very good with your weak, and you need to be excellent with your strong, right? And it's going to take, in some cases, I've heard, Steele Stanwick a couple of years ago, he posted out a video that got a lot of love in the lacrosse world that, you should literally be doubling your reps on your weak hand than you do for your strong hand. So if you're going to go play wall ball and you're going to do 50 reps on your strong, you should do 100 reps on your weak, right? I definitely do not disagree with that. There's something to be said for trying to play catch up, but what really matters is that you feel confident. When you go on that field, whenever that may be, you want to feel like you belong there. You want to feel like no matter what play or situation you end up in, you want to feel like you're ready for that, right? You want to feel like you're confident. So that's what a lot of this ties back to is, the deeper you go with understanding how to use your stick and feeling more comfortable on both sides, the more comfortable you're going to feel on the field. And you'll be able to assert more mental energy to be more strategic and notice the game, sense, like the time on the clock, right? What situations are we in? If you're worried about how you're holding your stick, you don't have the ability to have the mental capacity for that. So that's what a lot of this is about, is getting your skill set to the point where those quote unquote simpler things are completely out of your mind while you play, so you can focus more on strategy. We got another good question there, KB, or?
Nope, you're good.
Nice. Okay, and then lastly, guys, for this forearm strengthening drill, all right, what I've got here is the same foundation we started with, this grip, right? Having the forefinger be the highest step on the stick, right? And I'm going to put this hand all the way at the butt end, okay, and have this stick parallel to the ground. I'm sitting on a chair right now, all right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to cradle this thing 180 degrees, all right? So the face of the stick is looking up. I want to get it to look down for just a moment, and I'm going to catch it right back in that same spot. All right, now if you look at really how am I focusing on that, is that top hand wrist, all right, this right wrist right now does 100% of the work. I'm not getting my arm and my shoulder and like my elbow involved here, right? I could, but like I don't need to, okay? The focus of this is the forearm strengthening. So I want to try to I literally want to try to limit my overall body movement to just this, okay? This is how I really isolate the forearm and focus on making sure I feel the ball, especially at the bottom, all right? And this is definitely one we want to try to do with both hands, all right? And this is just from a seated position. So this is what I would just call bottom hand only cradling, all right? But there's a lot of different ways we could do this. So I'm angling this downward now. Okay, so now I'm standing. I've got my hand at the butt end like before, and now my stick is angled at roughly a 45-degree angle, we'll call it. And it's the same idea, right? I'm just going to do these 180-degree cradles, all right? And the big piece here is that if you were to look down the stick line, right, whether it was from this perspective or from this perspective, hopefully what you're starting to see here is from those perspectives, the stick is not moving like that a lot. It's always just rotating, okay? So it's still facing the same way, but it's just spinning the face of the stick. That is the function that my hand is serving here, is to rotate this thing, whether I'm sitting and being parallel or I'm standing and doing this more so all here around my feet, right? And this is a great way. I used to just walk around the house and see if I could just cradle down here, right? And I always did it. Oh, there you go. There's my first big mistake, all right? And I always did it with my right hand because I didn't understand that I needed to get better with my righty bottom hand only, which would be my left hand, right? So these are things you want to consider, right? If you are able to do that drill easily with one hand, and it's super, super hard on the other, don't get discouraged by that. Don't make that turn into, okay, I stink at that, I should stay away from it. It doesn't mean you have to do it in a game, but by practicing it, especially, you know, all things considered at this point in time within society, you guys are all sitting at home, you know, wondering what you should be doing. It's like, there's no wrong answer, right? If you're sitting there cradling weak-handed, that is productive. That is very productive, right? You'll be able to translate it as things progress. But I think this is a really good place for us to kind of, we got a good question there, KB?
Yep, you got a question in both the Q&A and the chat. Can you see it or you want me to?
I'll pull it up.
Okay.
Who's it from?
One is
Any
from,
tips?
there you go.
Brian Reiner. Yeah, I would say if he must have just joined a little bit late, I would send him back to the very beginning of this webinar for that, because the balance point drills, you know, if I'm working with a beginner, that would be one of the first things we do, you know, is just these simple balance point drills. I think the mistake that happens a lot is it's more of a mental thing where kids will go play catch or they'll go try to play wall ball because they've, you know, every coach has told them to go play wall ball, and they go, and what do they have trouble doing? They have trouble catching, right? Anyone can throw a ball, but it's really tough to catch it. You know, throwing it accurately, that's a different story, right? All right. So, yeah, all right, good. You saw that part. So then let me build off this last point here, and then I'd like to make sure I add value to you is, you know, if you are receiving or trying to, you know, receive a ball and you're just never succeeding at first because you're a beginner, that can turn into like a quit, right? Like this isn't for me, you know? So I really like these balance point drills and these simple flip to catch drills for beginners, you know, simply from the function of just try to do this. Don't even mention the grip. The grip doesn't matter for them. Let's see if they can toss that ball to themselves and then get really excited about that. And then we can maybe down the line start being like, hey, let's try doing our fingers a little bit differently. You know, the nuance of really the meat and potatoes of the stuff that I went over with the grip would actually be more for my intermediate and advanced players. Hopefully that answers some of your questions. Do you have another question, Brian?
There's one in the Q&A as well, a question.
And the Q&A. Thank you, Coach. Because I am a dad and a youth coach, I would love a specific and explicit list of time goals for my son over the next months and in the summer. For example, how many minutes should he invest per day into his skills, wall ball, individual practice for a 10-year-old, maybe twice his age, 20 minutes per day? All right. So basically that question was asking time allocation, right? So for depending on your age, how much time should you allocate to skill development on a daily basis? The suggestion here with the question was 20 minutes per day. I think I need a little bit more. What I think about in my coaching style is I think about asking the athlete the question of why do you want to get better first, right? So I want to know what your goal is before I can prescribe a set amount of time that you should be allocating towards this. I want to know what you're interested in achieving. Now, what I can say is if this youngster is maybe thinking about trying to go play varsity lacrosse in a couple of years, what about in that case, if that's their goal? Because I know that's probably true for a lot of you guys. What I would say is you should be probably spending no less than 30 minutes per day with a stick in your hand, with the understanding that it's totally fine to take a day or two off here and there. This is not, the military, right? This is a sport. If you are having fun with it and you are experiencing growth in your skill level and your confidence level because you have momentum and you're noticing difference, you're becoming more comfortable with your stick and you've been spending 20 minutes per day, keep that rolling, right? I want you guys to understand that if you find it, if it is truly important to you as the individual to feel like, you're building towards something for yourself, that when we, are on the field once again, whenever that may be, that you're going to be a new player, you're going to be better than you were before. If that's something that you're really working towards, what I would say and what my biggest suggestion would be is I would really look at your calendar, and I would say, mark on your calendar at a certain time of day 20 minutes of wall ball and see if you could do it every single day. If you start looking at your calendar and like, man, I don't want to do that the next couple of days, then don't. But ask yourself why. You know what I mean? Like, that's the big piece here is, what is more important than spending 20 minutes with your stick? And if you have a good answer for that, then by all means, you know what I mean? Take time away from it. But I think that's a really good prescription that Coach McCarthy suggested here in this question, which is a 20 minutes per day with your stick. Some of it can be structured. Some of it can just be messing around. For example, some of the little things you could be doing with a ball on your stick is, seeing if you can put it on your shoulder and then let gravity bring it back to the front side of your body without dropping the ball, right? Or do an around the world face cradle and then try to toss it to yourself and catch it on the other side, right? Little things like that don't break anything. That you can just, I have my stick in my hands, but I'm not like sticking to a particular routine. I think a lot of the kids, especially at the youth level, would benefit just from that. I think they only pick up their stick when they go to practice. And now we're in this crazy environment where we're at home all day, and you start thinking about what's most important to you. Oh, I want to learn about lacrosse. What should I be doing? What should I be doing? Pick the freaking stick up, right? Like, I could go over 17 drills. I don't want to bore you guys, that you could do with just your stick and no ball. I could go over drills you could do with your ball and no stick, right? I could drop this and catch it, right? It's one of those like face-off goalie drills. It's just a hand-eye coordination drill. Who cares what position you play? You want to get more comfortable reacting with your hands and things like that. I love your dog on the wall. Is he a midi? Her name is Juno. Hold on, I got to show you guys. That's the face she makes right before I throw a ball. Lovely. That's the world. Shout out to everyone out there in the world. Wishing everyone health and happiness. Hopefully this small little gap of time, this window of time that we just talked about, deep nuances of stick work, is something that you enjoyed. And I know a couple of you guys asked for reps and sets. What I'll be doing is I'll put together a PDF of every single drill that we did in this webinar, and I'll just send that to you, Kevin, and then they can access it through you. So I appreciate your guys' time. I know this is kind of a quick one, but I think we can only talk about this for so long before I stop losing, you know what I'm saying? The attention spans are limited here. Thank you very much, anonymous attendee. I appreciate that.
Any questions here for Marty? Take a couple minutes here if we need.
Yeah, I've got plenty. I've got time. If people have questions, I'm happy to do a Q&A.
You don't have anywhere to go, Marty? Nothing to do?
Well, I do have some things to do, but
Okay.
technically nowhere to go.
Yeah. No, I think, I'm coaching a U9 girls team this year, and parents have been asking me what can they be doing? And you nailed it. My biggest thing was just get their stick in their hand, even if it's just walking
Yeah.
around the house, obviously, as you said,
Thank you, Jack.
don't break anything,
Thank
but
you, Ryan.
get comfortable with a stick in your hand. Is watching
Yep.
college
So
lacrosse a good
Alessandro,
thing to do?
I'll list all those drills with a stick in the ball. I'll even list the ones without a ball. What's up, Coach Francis? Checking in from Tampa. Pretty cool, guys. I've been hearing. I spent the last literally 4 or 5 days at my girlfriend's parents' house in New Hampshire, just literally quarantining it hard. And now I'm back in Norwood by myself in the office. And I was listening to a bunch of conference calls by her father, who's obviously experiencing some giant changes in the professional world right now. And such a big part of this is how this is an opportunity for us to come together. And I think, KB, you're doing a fantastic job here of being proactive and getting these things online and getting some great coaches and great people involved here. But the engagement from these guys, from the people watching, from the community, is what this is all about. Thank you guys so much for checking in. It means the absolute world to me to even have the opportunity to speak with you guys, and hopefully I was able to add a little bit of value. So.
And
It's important to me.
Just wrap it up for those who haven't seen, we have another webinar tonight at 8:30 p.m. With another pretty good lacrosse player. Ryan Boyle is going to take about an hour and 15 minutes talking about the attack
All-time
position.
assist leader for the Cannons.
Yeah, he's one of the best, not only players, but for those, he does the color commentary for the PLL. And
I have a good story just to put context to Ryan Boyle for those who could appreciate this. When I first joined the professional ranks in 2012, that was, I think he's continued to get bigger, but Paul Rabel was a big deal at that point in time in lacrosse, and he was the star player on the Boston Cannons. And I joined the team, and I was just a practice squad guy to start. But it was really cool for me to just be there with all these guys. And, I think it's just good context because I had always kind of, thought highly of Paul. But when I got to Cannons training and I started practicing with them, I was literally a fanboy. Like, I was fanboying Ryan Boyle behind. He didn't even really know it. I tried to play it cool, but I was just so impressed with him. Like, the way that he sees the game, the way that he plays, the way that he communicates is truly impressive. So if you have not gotten the chance to hear him speak, I would highly suggest checking the one that he does out tonight. I'm certainly going to check it out.
All right. Well, there's a question about compete.
Stay healthy, guys. I am not in the field house. I'm in my office. Saw your sweatshirt. Yes. Well, you got to practice somewhere else for now, bro. Good luck. All right,
everyone.
All right, everyone that watched. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marty. Take care, everyone.